Let's set the scene, because you really need to feel the weight of the atmosphere in the building right now. 9 long, deeply frustrating years with Chris Ballard at the helm as general manager. 3 incredibly pressure-filled years under head coach Shane Steichen. And look, the excuses have been there, right? And frankly, from a completely objective standpoint, they've been entirely valid. We all know the history. For Ballard, it was the shocking, franchise-altering, out-of-nowhere retirement of a generational talent in Andrew Luck, a moment that literally changed the entire trajectory of the organization overnight. For Steichen, it's been a chaotic, non-stop revolving door under center, forcing him to endure a staggering 6 different starting quarterbacks in his incredibly short tenure. That is no way to build a consistent football team. But here is the harsh reality of the 2026 Indianapolis Colts. The grace period, it is completely over. Jim Irsay's patience has historically had a very hard limit, and we are crashing right into it. The roster is getting heavily expensive. Those highly coveted, incredibly valuable rookie contract windows are rapidly closing. So the 2026 season isn't just another year on the schedule, it is a ticking clock. It's an ultimatum for the entire Indianapolis Colts organization. This is a franchise that finds itself standing on the absolute edge of a precipice. The front office, the coaching staff, the roster construction, literally the whole shebang. It is all on the line.
Jobs and the future direction of the franchise are riding on it. Take a second and really, truly let the staggering weight of that quote sink in. That is from ESPN's Dan Graziano. And honestly, it perfectly encapsulates the suffocating, inescapable pressure cooker that is the Indiana Farm Bureau Football Center right this very minute. The era of excuses in Indianapolis has reached a definitive, unmistakable dead end. You can point to the bad luck all you want, you can point to the catastrophic injuries, or the sudden retirements that derailed a decade of meticulous planning, but the undeniable truth, the cold, hard reality of the National Football League, is that it does not wait. It does not pause for your rebuilding phases, it doesn't care about your bad luck, and it certainly has no sympathy for your quarterback carousels. The window to win in this league is terrifyingly small, and for this current regime, this appears to be their absolute last chance. The mandate from ownership is crystal clear. Win now or face a complete top-to-bottom franchise purge. And we all know what a purge looks like in the NFL. It means lockers emptied out, playbooks shredded, and a franchise forced to start entirely from scratch.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the entire narrative of this franchise, the entire sweeping drama of the Colts, pivots on one microscopic point of human anatomy. This is where the story of the 2026 Colts truly reaches its boiling point. Everything changed in a matter of seconds last season. The entire future of the Indianapolis Colts, the massive careers of Chris Ballard, Shane Steichen, and practically the entire coaching staff, it all now rests almost entirely on the surgically repaired Achilles tendon of one man, Daniel Jones. It sounds crazy to say it out loud, but it's the absolute truth. The question that is keeping everyone in that front office awake in the dead of night staring at the ceiling is simple, yet incredibly complex in its actual execution. Was it the right decision to bring back Jones? Because think about it. If that ankle doesn't hold up to the violent, unpredictable physics of the NFL pocket, the foundation of this entire team collapses right along with it. The stakes could not possibly be any higher for a quarterback trying to mount a seemingly impossible comeback. To truly understand the sheer magnitude of this decision, you have to look at the striking contrast in his career arc. We all remember those 6 brutal, agonizing seasons with the New York Giants. It was tough to watch. He had 0 consistent weapons, a porous, constantly revolving door on the offensive line, and an oft-injured Saquon Barkley leaving his offensive options incredibly thin. He was running for his life. But then, he arrived in the Circle City. And under Steichen, it wasn't just simple slants and basic reads. No, it was heavy RPO action. It was brilliant pre-snap motion that completely deciphered complex coverages for him before the ball was even snapped. And most importantly, he had a pocket that finally gave him more than 2.5 seconds to actually survey the field. And what did it lead to? An incredible, high-flying 8-2 start that placed Daniel Jones squarely in the MVP conversation, right alongside his own teammate, Jonathan Taylor. He was hitting throws with a confidence we literally hadn't seen since his college days. It felt like a revelation. It looked like the Colts had finally, mercifully found their franchise signal caller. But then, the tragedy struck. First, a fractured leg, and to his immense credit, he heroically played through it. But that was followed by a horrific, season-ending Achilles tear that instantly, brutally ruined what was shaping up to be a historic debut season in blue and white.
7. Just look at that heavy, looming number right there. That number represents the absolute sheer drop-off this team experienced after their MVP candidate went down in agony. After Jones tried to grit it out and play on that fractured leg and eventually tore his Achilles, the team completely and utterly spiraled into the abyss. They lost 7 straight games. It wasn't just a mid-season slump, folks. It was a catastrophic collapse. backups Riley Leonard and Anthony Richardson Sr. were thrust completely into the fire. But the reality is, opposing defenses simply stacked the box. They boldly dared them to throw, completely exposing a fatal flaw in the offensive design without Jones pulling the trigger. The defense knew exactly what was coming on every single down. The offense completely stalled out, the morale inside the locker room plummeted off a cliff, and that brutal 7-game freefall proved exactly how heavily this entire massive operation relies on number 8 being perfectly healthy and out on the field.
Because of that collapse, every single step of this current rehab process is being watched under a relentless, suffocating microscope. Now, Daniel Jones has been hitting every necessary landmark. But as you know, an Achilles isn't just about pain tolerance. It's about the explosive, kinetic transfer of energy needed to drive a professional football downfield. During OTAs, he participated in 7-on-7 work for the very first time since the injury. And by all accounts, he's been in great spirits, hinting to the media that he's actually ahead of schedule. But the tension in the building? It is palpable. At the start of veteran minicamp, Jones was so eager that he actually requested to jump into full 11-on-11 work before the summer break. But Shane Steichen, he immediately shut that idea down, shut it down cold. Steichen knows the reality. He knew that one wrong step against a live pass rush, just one awkward twist while trying to naturally evade a massive defensive tackle, could instantly spell the end of the entire Ballard era. It's a delicate, agonizing race against time. They desperately need him for Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. So every single practice rep right now is a terrifying balance between getting him game ready and risking another catastrophic, job-ending setback.
But here is the thing. The offense is really only half the story in Indianapolis right now. While the blinding spotlight burns intensely on Daniel Jones and his rehab journey, there are unseen forces at work on the other side of the ball that we absolutely need to talk about. Defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo is currently orchestrating a radical, high-stakes shift. Now, Anarumo has a strict, well-earned reputation across the league for not giving big roles to rookies. And look, it's not just old-school coaching stubbornness. Anarumo doesn't just run your basic vanilla coverages. His scheme requires defensive backs to disguise their assignments post-snap, actively passing off elite wide receivers in microscopic fractions of a second based on incredibly complex route combinations. It is a system that usually swallows rookies completely whole. It requires high football IQ and years of veteran savvy just to grasp the basics. But this year, Anarumo is being forced to make a massive, incredibly uncharacteristic gamble. He is relying heavily on rookies in a year where the coaching staff simply cannot afford a single, solitary learning curve.
And these are the rookies being thrown directly into the raging fire. First up, you have second-round pick C.J. Allen. Now, he isn't just stepping onto the field, he is stepping into the absolutely massive shoes of longtime linebacker and leading tackler Zaire Franklin. But here's the craziest part of all of this. Allen is wearing the green dot at Mike linebacker. If you don't know, wearing the green dot means Allen has the headset. He is the sole direct conduit between Anarumo and the players on the field. He is to hear the play call, relay it perfectly, physically align the massive front four, identify the opposing offensive scheme, and adjust the coverage dynamically based on the quarterback's cadence. And he has to do all of this with exactly 15 seconds on the play clock before the mic cuts out. For a rookie, this is a monumental, almost terrifying burden. Then there's third-round pick A.J. Halsey, who is stepping right in to replace another leading tackler, Nick Cross, at strong safety. And we definitely cannot forget linebacker Bryce Boettcher, who is already flashing immense pass coverage skills, literally taking an interception to the house off Riley Leonard on the very first day of 7-on-7s. The sheer crushing weight of responsibility placed on these young shoulders right now is totally unprecedented.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the praise being thrown around. Hearing a grizzled veteran coordinator like Lou Anarumo absolutely gush about a first-year player is incredibly rare. Just listen to his exact words here. He's not a repeat offender when it comes to a mistake that he may get. He gets football. He gets football. Anarumo went on to praise A.J. Halsey's remarkable mental recall and his innate, natural feel for the subtleties of the professional game. Guys, this isn't just your standard boring coach speak being fed to the media to build up a kid's confidence. Halsey actually went out and snagged a sensational one-handed interception on the very first day of practice. The coaches, including Chris Ballard, obviously knew they were getting an incredibly athletic playmaker out of LSU when they drafted him. But Halsey has come into camp and completely shattered their expectations mentally. The starting strong safety spot is already his to lose, which just goes to prove that sometimes throwing a rookie into the absolute deep end pays off in a massive, game-changing way.
But
Here is the reality of fielding that much youth. With so much unproven talent in the linebacking core and the safety room, you desperately need an anchor. You absolutely need an established, undeniable force to stabilize the entire unit when the pressure's on. Enter the superstar safety net. The Colts sent an absolute blockbuster haul to land Sauce Gardner in Indianapolis. And they didn't just do it for the stats. They needed way more than just a good corner. They needed an identity. They desperately needed to inject pure, undeniable lockdown attitude into a secondary that was honestly looking highly vulnerable going into the season. Bringing in a genuine superstar of Gardner's caliber instantly, fundamentally changes the geometry of the football field. Think about it. By completely erasing the opponent's absolute best receiver from the game plan entirely, he allows Anarumo to confidently roll safety help to the other side. This functionally shrinks the field, and it gives those young, stressed-out rookies a vital, life-saving safety net. Plus, it gives the defensive front four that crucial extra half-second they need to finally get home to the quarterback. It is a massive domino effect.
I hope they think that they should go at me, so I can get more targets and be able to have more ball production, change the game more. Let that just sit with you for a second. Listen to the cold, absolute, calculated confidence in those words from Sauce Gardner. He doesn't just want to passively shut down his half of the field and go unnoticed. He actively wants the ball in his hands. He maintained that absolute, unwavering CB1 mindset every single time he straps up his cleats. And the reports leaking out of Minicamp, they say he was as locked down as all get out. Even without an elite receiver opposite him in practice to really sharpen his skills, Gardner remains his fiercely confident, dominant self. And let me tell you, this is the exact, unshakable swagger that this entire Colts team desperately needs to survive this brutal gauntlet of a season. It's an infectious mentality. It bleeds directly into the rest of the locker room, showing those young, wide-eyed rookies exactly the kind of relentless, unapologetic aggression it takes to dominate at the highest professional level.
All right, swinging back to the other side of the ball, the offensive arsenal is going through a massive, critical reload of its own. The giant elephant in the room here is the departure of their primary go-to weapon. They traded away Michael Pittman Jr. earlier this offseason, and that has massive ripple effects. It means Alec Pierce is now officially elevated to the WR1 role. He is the guy who will be facing the absolute premier shutdown cornerbacks of the league every single Sunday. Behind him, the WR3 race is being completely dominated right now by Ashton Dulin. Now, Dulin is entering his 7th year. He's been a career special teams ace with minimal receiving production in his past, but he has proven to be fiercely, undeniably reliable when called upon. But honestly, the real secret weapon here isn't the personnel on the field. It's Shane Steichen's meticulously crafted offensive scheme. Without Pittman's massive, forgiving catch radius to bail out inaccurate throws, Steichen is being forced to innovate like never before. This means relying heavily on complex bunch formations to create free releases, utilizing highly choreographed tight end screens, and designing intricate horizontal crossing routes to essentially manufacture separation. He has to make life as easy and as comfortable as possible for a quarterback who simply can't fully rely on his legs just yet.
So after looking at all the moving pieces, we arrive at the ultimate franchise-defining question. Will this incredible, multifaceted, all-in gamble actually pay off? We are talking about a historic, proud franchise literally betting its entire current existence on a quarterback recovering from a fractured leg and a completely torn Achilles. They are betting on completely unproven rookies stepping into the absolute most complex defensive scheme in all of football. And they are betting on an unproven, reshuffled receiver hierarchy to carry the entire offensive load. Really let the sheer scale of those risks truly sink in for a moment. Because if Daniel Jones gets back to 100% health, stays out there on the field for 17 grueling games, and plays like he did in those magical first 10 games of last season, Indianapolis has a real, legitimate shot at making a deep, dangerous postseason run. But if we see the old, erratic, turnover-prone New York Giants version of Jones, or God forbid he suffers another devastating injury, the reality is brutally grim. There is a very, very high probability that this entire front office, this meticulously built roster, and this entire coaching staff will be completely, ruthlessly dismantled for a fresh start. A total, uncompromising, burn-it-to-the-ground reset.
Because at the end of the day, the NFL just doesn't wait. It doesn't care about your heart-wrenching injuries, it doesn't care about your complex, brilliant defensive schemes, and it certainly doesn't care about your blockbuster offseason trades. The clock is furiously, unforgivingly ticking in Indianapolis right now. Week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill season opener, it is a massive do-or-die moment that will irrevocably set the entire tone for the survival of an NFL regime.
Every single drop back, every panicked defensive play call, every costly rookie mistake, and every triumphant veteran play will be magnified 1,000 times over in the film room and up in the owner's suite. This is high-stakes football in its absolute purest, most ruthless, unadulterated form. The ultimatum has been delivered to Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. Now, we simply have to wait to see if the Colts can actually answer the call, or if this entire era of Indianapolis football will just fade away into NFL history. But one thing is absolutely for certain, this story is far, far from over.
And honestly, that relentless drama, that high-stakes tension, is exactly why we cover the league the way we do right here on NFL Nexus. We make it our mission to bring you right to the absolute bleeding edge of the biggest, most consequential stories in football. Because to survive this brutal 24/7 news cycle and actually stay ahead of the curve on the Colts' make-or-break season, you absolutely need to be a part of our community. So do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button right now to support the channel and never miss an update. Make sure you leave a like on this explainer if you enjoyed the deep dive. And look, I really want to hear your absolute, honest, unfiltered opinions down in the comments. Do you genuinely believe Daniel Jones has what it takes to save the jobs of Ballard and Steichen? Or is it total catastrophic rebuild simply inevitable in Indianapolis? Let me know below, let's get the debate going. And for those of you who want the absolute premium, next-level, deep dive experience into the granular details of the sport we all love, consider taking that next step and supporting the channel by becoming a channel member today. We've got some incredible perks waiting for you. Until next time, keep your eyes on the gridiron, and we will see you in the next one.